Hello, this webinar is titled Party Platforms and Worldviews, the Quick Highlights version. The scriptures say, "Do not conform to the pattern of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. Then you'll be able to test and approve what God's will is, His good, pleasing, and perfect will." Pastors, we need to preach the party platforms. That is, the platforms and policies versus personalities and propaganda. We've created a generic comparison of party platforms and policies and practices, and you can get this PDF at the website listed below. What we do is we determine which total set of ideas that we're most aligned with and seek out the party that best represents those ideas, and then we exercise our civic duty to vote. In this highlight version, we're going to take a look at the issues that scored the highest as far as people's interest and concern about them. And so we've divided this into Platform A and Platform B and give the prevailing viewpoints of each of the parties in a generic sense. The view of the Constitution. One party believes it's a living document that needs to change with the times, versus a fixed Charter of Liberties whose main purpose is to restrain those who hold power. The courts. The court should actively reinterpret the Constitution, even setting out new policy prescriptions in their rulings, versus the courts are only to interpret the Constitution and not set out new policies in their rulings. The scope of government. Government should be used to bring about good in society and be involved in central planning and organizing, versus government should be limited. At the end of the day, government is power and therefore should be restrained. View of the U.S. founding. The founding was based on discrimination and privilege, and the founders' ideas are no longer relevant. Versus the founding was based on transcendent truths and setting up a structure that would maximize liberty. Believe the founders' ideas are still relevant today and should be studied. Freedom of speech. Selective freedom of speech. Approved speech is tolerated. Non-approved speech that is said to be offensive must be controlled by government or limited to free speech zones. Versus broader freedom of speech. All ideas should be heard, tolerated, whether offensive or not. The right to bear arms. If guns are highly regulated, there would be less guns in society and therefore less crime. Government should be the ultimate protector of its citizens, versus an individual ultimately has the responsibility to protect themselves. Responsible gun ownership by law-abiding citizens has been proven to reduce crime and homicide. In the area of national concerns on immigration, one views that America is obligated to take in immigrants from other countries. Those that are in the country illegally should have some pathway to citizenship because it's the compassionate thing to do. Versus, we are a nation of immigrants, but this does not mean we are a nation of illegal immigration. Immigration laws should protect the rights of existing citizens and should be enforced, no blanket amnesty. Voting and election laws. Very opposed to voter ID laws, saying they are intimidating and tend to suppress minority votes and therefore is a race issue, versus the idea that they're very supportive of voter ID laws to provide for secure and legitimate elections. To not have voter ID is to invite election fraud. Military and national defense. Too much money is spent on the military and could be spent on other things. If America is too strong, it can actually be too provocative on the global stage. Versus a strong military deters aggression, national defense is one of the primary charges of the federal government. The environment. Man-made global warming has been 100% confirmed by science and that it has fatal consequences for the entire world. Versus climate change goes through cycles that last decades and centuries. Man's role in affecting climate change is unproven and computer models have been proven incorrect and politicized. On healthcare, everybody should have healthcare and the government should be involved in making sure they get it. Government planning and control will reduce cost. Versus, everybody should be cared for and that free markets offer a better solution to lower cost and that the uninsured do have a safety net of hospitals and doctors that will take care of them. In the area of social issues, on abortion, one party believes abortion should be widely available and any restraint should be highly resisted. It's a right and should be a woman's choice. Life begins when the fetus can survive outside the womb. The unborn child is determinedly called a fetus. Versus, abortion should be limited. Should only be allowed in cases of rape or incest and when a mother's life is in danger. A baby's heartbeat and brainwaves can be detected at 6 to 7 weeks. A baby is genetically a human at conception. The unborn child is determinedly called a baby. On sex education, one party believes kids are going to have sex, so they need to know about it at a young age and be taught by public officials. versus children are the responsibility of the parent, and that parents' values need to be represented in their sex education. On race relations, one party believes racism still exists today and it's institutionalized. African Americans are particularly the victims of this. Versus, racism exists in pockets. The country's come a long way and paid a steep price to address its national shortcomings. People should be judged by the content of their character, not the color of their skin. On economic issues, one party believes the government plays a key role in guiding the economy with interest rates, stimulus, and other tools. Versus, the free markets know best, and it's the most efficient way for resources to be allocated through price discovery. On government spending is important and needs to be increased to stimulate the economy and support social programs. Versus, government spending should be controlled. The size of national debt is an issue and will be a burden for future generations. In the area of miscellaneous philosophies, the Declaration of Independence by one party is viewed as a document from the past. The concept of a creator endowing individual with rights is an antiquated idea, versus it being still relevant and inspiring and true for today. Where rights come from. One position is rights are provided by the government and agreed upon by the people or agreed upon by political and cultural leaders. Versus inalienable rights come from God and cannot be revoked by any government. The rule of law. One party believes the ends justifies the means and the law can be bent or gotten around if there are important policy goals to achieve. Versus the rule of law makes society stable, just, and fair. To get an end result, it needs to fall under existing law or new laws need to be passed. On equality of outcomes managed by the government. Versus equality of opportunity, government protects people's rights to have a fair opportunity to succeed. And so there you have it. A party platform preaching the platforms, a highlight version. And Isaiah says this, "For they are not a people of discernment, therefore their Maker will not have compassion on them, and their Creator will not be gracious to them." Well, friends, we need to be people of discernment, voting on policies and platforms, not personalities and propaganda. Then the Maker will have compassion on us, and the Creator will be gracious to us. My name's Craig Seibert. Thanks for listening.